Napoleon's rise and the Third Coalition. The dawn of the Napoleonic Wars. In December 1804, Napoleon Bonaparte crowned himself Emperor of the French at Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, marking a dramatic rise from Corsican nobility to military dictator in just over a decade. His reign would be dominated by war, reshaping Europe and costing millions of lives. By mid-1805, Britain and France were at war again. Napoleon assembled 180,000 troops along the Channel, but British naval supremacy prevented invasion. Britain, led by Prime Minister William Pitt, sought to counter Napoleon through a European coalition, uniting monarchs threatened by French power, especially Austria, which had lost influence in Germany and Italy. The tipping point came when Napoleon crowned himself King of Italy in Milan, prompting Austria, Russia, Sweden, and Naples to join Britain in the Third Coalition. Their plan, a joint offensive across the Rhine into France. Napoleon struck first. His Grande Armée, reorganized into independent corps mini-armies capable of rapid, flexible movement, marched swiftly to surround the Austrian army under General Mack, which had advanced prematurely into Bavaria. Using feints and speed, Napoleon trapped Mack at Ulm, forcing a massive surrender of 60,000 troops in October 1805. Russian forces under General Kutuzov, cautious and weary from a long march, retreated, allowing Napoleon to capture Vienna in November. With winter approaching and his army exhausted, Napoleon sought a decisive battle. The young Russian Emperor Alexander, eager for glory, pressured Kutuzov to engage, setting the stage for the pivotal Battle of Austerlitz near Austerlitz. This early phase of the Napoleonic Wars showcased Napoleon's military genius, his innovative corps system, rapid maneuvers, and bold strategic decisions that would define his campaigns and challenge Europe's old order. On the night before December 2, 1805, Napoleon meticulously arranged his army's positions, then rested briefly beside a campfire. Dawn would mark the first anniversary of his coronation and a battle that could make or break his empire. The morning was cold and misty as two armies of nearly equal size faced off across a 7-mile battlefield near Austerlitz. The Allies' Austrian and Russian forces held the high ground on the Pratzen Heights, while the French right flank was deliberately weakened. The Allies planned a massive attack on this right wing, aiming to crush it and then envelop Napoleon's main force. But Napoleon had anticipated this move. His plan was to lure the Allies into attacking his right, then launch a decisive counterattack on the Pratzen Heights to split their army in two. The battle began around 7 a.m., with fierce fighting at the village of Telnitz, where French troops stubbornly resisted despite being outnumbered. Allied confusion and delays slowed their advance. Meanwhile, Marshal Davout's Third Corps, having force-marched 70 miles in 2 days, arrived just in time to reinforce the French right. As the mist lifted, Napoleon saw the Allied left leaving the heights and ordered Marshal Soult's Fourth Corps to attack. Suddenly, 2 French infantry divisions appeared, advancing on the Allied center. After 2 hours of brutal combat, including bayonet charges, the French seized the Pratzen Heights, splitting the Allied forces. To the north, a massive cavalry battle raged. French heavy cavalry charged and pushed back the Allies, allowing further French advances. The Allies' last reserve, the Russian Imperial Guard, counterattacked fiercely, even capturing a French Eagle standard in bloody fighting. But Napoleon personally sent in his Guard cavalry, and after a fierce melee, the French prevailed. By mid-morning, Napoleon had broken the Allied center and was closing the trap on their left flank, still engaged near Sokolnitz. This brilliant combination of deception, timing, and rapid troop movements made Austerlitz one of history's greatest tactical victories, cementing Napoleon's reputation as a military genius and securing French dominance in Europe. Around 2 p.m. on December 2, 1805, Napoleon ordered 4 French divisions to swing south, cutting off the retreat of the Allied left under General Buchschauden. Caught between 3 sides, many Allied troops fled across frozen ponds, where French artillery fired on the ice, causing about 200 men and dozens of horses to drown. Despite this tragedy, the battle was a stunning French victory. Over 10,000 prisoners and 45 enemy standards were captured. The battlefield was strewn with thousands of dead and wounded, many unattended for days. Known as the Battle of the Three Emperors, it dealt a crushing blow to the Third Coalition. Russia retreated home, and Austria's Emperor Francis IV accepted a humiliating peace treaty, paying 40 million francs and ceding territory to France and its allies. However, news soon reached Napoleon of a catastrophic Franco-Spanish naval defeat at Trafalgar, where British Admiral Lord Nelson secured British naval supremacy for the next century, ensuring Britain's control of the seas while Napoleon remained unbeatable on land. This stalemate was likened to a whale and an elephant, each dominant in their own domain. Following Austerlitz, Napoleon reorganized Europe. He installed his brothers as kings in Naples and Holland, elevated Bavaria and Württemberg to kingdoms, and created the Confederation of the Rhine, a German alliance supplying troops to his army. Austria formally dissolved the Holy Roman Empire, marking the end of a millennium-old institution. France remained at war with Britain, Sweden, and Russia. Meanwhile, Prussia, under King Frederick William III, and influenced by Queen Louise's hatred of France, watched warily. Though initially poised to join the coalition, Prussia hesitated after hearing of the coalition's defeat at Austerlitz, setting the stage for further conflict in 1806. Napoleon's victory at Austerlitz secured French dominance in Europe, but also sowed the seeds for continued warfare and shifting alliances across the continent. Queen Louise of Prussia led the influential war party at the Prussian court during the critical period leading to the War of the Fourth Coalition. Her staunch opposition to Napoleon's territorial manipulations, particularly over Hanover, became a flashpoint. Hanover, a German state historically tied to Britain, had been occupied by France in 1803, then offered to Prussia as compensation in 1805. However, Napoleon's secret negotiations to return Hanover to Britain in exchange for peace infuriated Prussia, which viewed the move as a betrayal. Under Louise's influence, King Frederick William III abandoned caution and aligned with Russia via the Treaty of Potsdam, November 1805, committing Prussia to war against France. Louise's faction overruled appeasers like Minister Haugwitz, advocating instead for military action to counter Napoleon's expansion. However, Prussia made a critical error by issuing Napoleon an ultimatum in October 1806 without coordinating with its allies, leaving it isolated alongside Saxony against the French Grande Armée. The Prussian army, though feared for its legacy under Frederick the Great, suffered from outdated tactics, bureaucratic inefficiencies, and slow mobilization. Despite its disciplined cavalry and infantry, it was no match for Napoleon's modernized forces. The French invasion of Saxony in October 1806 exposed these weaknesses. At Saalfeld, October 10th, Prince Louis Ferdinand's advance guard was routed, and Louis himself killed, demoralizing Prussian forces. Napoleon's rapid maneuvers culminated in the twin battles of Jena-Auerstedt, 14th October 1806, where Prussian command disintegrated. Marshal Davout's outnumbered corps triumphed at Auerstedt, while Napoleon crushed Hohenlohe's rearguard at Jena, shattering Prussia's military reputation. Queen Louise, who had urged resistance, fled Berlin as French forces occupied the capital, marking Prussia's collapse and the ascendancy of Napoleonic dominance in Central Europe. On the foggy morning of October 14, 1806, the Battle of Jena began with Marshal Lannes's Fifth Corps, holding the plateau west of the town and river. His mission was to push back the Prussians and secure space for the rest of the French forces arriving steadily. Fierce fighting erupted over villages like Cospeda, Closewitz, and Lützerode. Augereau's Seventh Corps advanced through a ravine to Lannes's left, while Soult's Fourth Corps climbed steep tracks on his right. Napoleon joined Lannes in the center, organizing artillery to support the assault on Wetzelheiligen village. The French took the village, but lost it to a determined Prussian counterattack. Soult's infantry secured Closewitz, but faced a counterattack near Rüdigen, which was repelled by a decisive charge from French light cavalry, capturing 2 enemy flags. Marshal Ney, commanding Sixth Corps, disobeyed orders and plunged into the fighting around Wetzelheiligen. He was briefly cut off by a Prussian counterattack and had to be rescued by French Guard cavalry. Prussian General Hohenlohe expected reinforcements under General Reuchel, but time ran out. Napoleon started the day with 25,000 men, but by 12:30 p.m. had 96,000 troops ready. He held the Imperial Guard in reserve, rebuking a young soldier eager to advance, insisting experience was needed before giving orders. Then the French launched a general attack. The Prussian army, initially disciplined, soon broke and fled. Murat's cavalry pursued, cutting down hundreds of retreating Prussians. Reuchel's arriving divisions briefly slowed the French advance, but were soon outflanked and crushed by cannon fire and cavalry charges. The battle ended with a decisive French victory, inflicting heavy casualties and capturing many prisoners, further shattering the outdated Prussian military and paving the way for Napoleon's dominance in Central Europe. I would like to extend my sincerest appreciation to everyone who has watched and supported this channel. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing and exploring my entire collection of videos about Napoleon Bonaparte. Thanks you for watching my YouTube channel, Historical Lens and Conquerors.